Now, to discuss the ramifications of the latest truce, we have with us Prabhu Dayal, former ambassador, and Syyad Ruman Hashmi, Middle East expert and senior journalist on the broadcast with us. Ambassador Dayal, I'd like to come to you first. You know, it's seeming more of a break than a ceasefire, don't you agree? Because Israel is saying this is for more days. So it is a temporary ceasefire, not a complete one, considering Benjamin Netanyahu is saying he is going to press on even after these 4 days.
Yes, first of all, thanks for having me on your show. You're absolutely correct in saying that this is just a break. It is not the end of the war, because Netanyahu has very categorically said that the war against Hamas will not stop after the ceasefire. In fact, he had categorically said that this war will go on until Hamas is completely destroyed. Nonetheless, I see it as a positive sign that the Israeli cabinet earlier today approved a ceasefire with Hamas, and this will mean that about 50 Israelis who are held as hostages by Hamas militants would be released, and in return there would be the release of 150 Palestinian prisoners by Israel. I have also noted remarks which have come from informed statesmen across the globe, which indicate that this ceasefire could be extended and there could be the release of more Israeli hostages. In fact, a U.S. State Department spokesman has said that the deal would ultimately be structured in such a manner that more than 50 hostages would be released. So it's a positive sign, and I welcome the ceasefire. It's a good sign that relief supplies will be now going to the Palestinians. But as you said, it's not the end of the war. It's only a break.
Right. It is a positive development indeed that a deal has been reached to give at least a few days of relief to people who are suffering under the most inhuman conditions as we speak. But Mr. Hashmi, Israel has technically called for a 4-day pause. And then what? They'll go back to murdering thousands of innocent Palestinians? What do you think of Israel's latest decision?
Yes, thanks for having me. See, as Netanyahu already has explained it, and is very much adamant on the continuation of the war. Netanyahu has no any other option, because he is very much unpopular in his own party in Israel, and Mr. Biden, American president, also he doesn't want to see him to continue as a prime minister after war. So he sees he's facing charges, corruption charges, bribery charges in Israeli court, and he sees if the war stops, he will have to go as a prime minister and will face the court on the charges he's facing. And that's why he's bringing his overwhelming, trying to overall the laws in Israel to just protect him and his family, his wife, from these charges and go to jail. So he doesn't have any other option to continue the war in order to protect himself in Israel. This is the scenario, and that's right, that thousands of peoples, and especially the children and the women, they are dying every day. More than half of the Gaza has been turned into rebel, and even in the West Bank, where doesn't exist the Hamas, more than 200 people have died, and people of every walk, apart from these children and the women, see more than 60 journalists, mostly the Palestinian journalists, they have died. Around 200 of health workers, they have died. UN associated groups, those who are working over there, they are dying in this war. So the very catastrophic scenario has emerged. It is unprecedented. Even in the Russian-Ukraine war, which is going on, at least it has been 2 years, we haven't seen such type of open violation of the international law.
Indeed.
Yes. And this is a scenario, and they will have to accountable. That's why very famous judge of France, they have applied International Court of Criminal against Netanyahu on the charges of criminal charges.
Right, there are domestic pressures that are mounting on Benjamin Netanyahu. It's been made clear. Even international pressure has been mounting as we speak. But as we speak, thousands of Palestinian children, women, journalists, humanitarian workers are dead. We can't run away from this reality. And it took almost 2 months for this temporary ceasefire to be agreed upon. Ambassador Dayal, realistically, do you see Israel's temporary truce with Hamas as just a first step in difficult negotiations ahead, with a lasting peace in Gaza still far off?
You're right again. The lasting peace in Gaza does seem to be quite far away. But I welcome the first step, because this step indicates that there is a willingness on the part of both sides to come to some sort of settlement. You know, Israel has categorically stated that it will do everything possible to get the release of all the hostages. Hamas is hell-bent on ensuring that the Israelis do a number of things, such as release Palestinian prisoners from its jails and soften in regard to its stand regarding Hamas. But that is not going to happen, because Netanyahu has categorically said that he would like to see Hamas wiped out. So I don't see a complete end to this war anytime in the near future. And therefore, for this reason, I fear greatly that the sufferings of the Palestinians will continue for some time, as they have been indeed suffering immensely in the recent past.
Right, Mr. Hashmi, one of the things that I think is also significant is that it took significant United States pressure to get this deal done. Does this really tell you what it's going to take in terms of US pressure to get something more permanent in place in Gaza?
Yeah, see, I tell you that Israel wants to, the pull America, United States into the war, because in this literally, as you said, it is going to be around 2 months, this war. And now Israeli government, they are on terms of financial, the cost and the military cost, it is costing them dear. That's why Netanyahu wants to see America into the war. He wants to declare the war also against Iran. But Biden, who will be going to face the election the next year, in no mood to directly involve into this war. And on the ground, the Biden facing also opposition from his own supporters. You see, the American Arabs, they have gone against the Biden, who are traditionally, they have been voting for the Democratic Party. So there is no choice for the Biden. Biden cannot afford to jump into the war directly. And Netanyahu are in as far as the Israeli army are concerned, if the war goes on, on the northern border, which borders to Lebanon, the Hezbollah have already started in a more precise way and attacking Israel, within Israel, and even on the Sheba border, the 40 kilometers border of Lebanon, which Israel has occupied as a buffer zone. And Hezbollah are attacking on every basis. Even the Houthi, they have hijacked the ship over there. See, the scenario have started to begin escalating. And if it goes beyond the border of the Gaza or the Israel, then it will be, the scenario will turn nasty, and it will be difficult to handle the war for Israel. So I think that in these 4 days, as the ceasefire is subject to extension, we can see that
in fact, that's what the Israeli government has also said. Of course, that terms and conditions with the release of hostages involved as well, as far as the extension of this current ceasefire is concerned.
Yes,
but gentlemen,
yes.
I think everyone would agree that innocent men, innocent women, innocent children are not collateral damage. Everyone would agree. They're human beings.
Yeah.
Ambassador Dayal, do you think there needs to be more international pressure to endorse calls for an immediate, permanent ceasefire? Because let's be realistic, without a lasting ceasefire, Israel is likely to continue this unfolding genocide in Gaza.
Yes, I do think that more international pressure could be brought on Israel as also on Hamas to end these hostilities and to bring about a situation where hostages can be returned and the Palestinians could be assisted in having a normal life. But I'm keeping my fingers crossed because although the ceasefire is for 4 days, anything might happen which could disrupt this break in the hostilities. So I'm keeping my fingers crossed, as I said, because I don't want that this 4-day ceasefire should end prematurely on account of something reckless on either side. I do hope that the 50 Israeli hostages and the 150 Palestinian hostages are released, and that in fact the ceasefire gets extended and more steps are taken to ensure that there are more hostages that are released, more prisoners and hostages from both sides. But as you said, more international pressure may have to be brought on the two warring sides so that any extension of the ceasefire can be implemented and a return to hostilities does not take place. Of course, as I said again and again, I'm keeping my fingers crossed. I'm really worried for the unfolding manner of this scenario.
Well, we are relieved that a deal has been reached to give at least a few days of relief to people who are currently suffering under the most inhumane genocidal campaign we've ever seen. But we absolutely cannot rest or let up until we cease fire, cease apartheid, and cease genocide. Thank you so much, as always, gentlemen, for joining us on NDTV.
Thank you.